Welcome back. Today we're going to start on this segmented vase, however you want to pronounce it, I don't really care. It's going to be about 7 inches tall, 7.5, about 8 inches wide. I'm going to make it out of sapele, walnut, and maybe some rock maple. So let's go. Got another sticker. This one's from Jen's Woodworking and Things. I'll put a link to her channel up here. She's a new turner, but she is learning and she's getting so much better. And she's building confidence, and that's the important thing. So y'all go check Jen's channel out and give her some love. Where do I want to put you, Jen? I think I'm going to put you right over here by Bob and Kim. Yes, I'm covering parts of stickers up here and there. Y'all are just going to have to forgive me. I only have so much real estate to work with. Go check Jen out. Slight change in plan. I'm going to use this beech and cherry for the center ring. This ring right here. So, let's mill that up. Okay, for my length, I need 0.79 inches. Something doesn't look right. There's a reason it didn't look right. As I often do, for one reason or another, I'm supposed to enter the diameter into my calculation, right? Well, what I'll do is I'll take this measurement, which is the radius, and I'll use that instead. So my measurements came out about half of what they should have been. So I've adjusted that. Now let's get back to it after I said it. What do we really need to be here? We need to be at 1.5 inches. 1.499 to be exact. Sand block, sand off all of the fuzzies. Doesn't take much or long. I don't see any gaps, everything looks good. So we'll set this one to dry, or leave it to dry for several hours. Actually going to leave them both to dry for several hours. Looks good, gaps are tight. I'll leave these to set up at least an hour, and then I'll run them through the sander and get them all flat on one side. And I'll probably put a layer of veneer between the two. I don't know if you can tell from the drawing, but the bottom is actually a false bottom. I use a 1/4 inch false bottom usually, and I don't glue it in. I let it move freely. Because I don't glue it up, I usually make it from a solid block of wood, like this piece of pecky cypress that I'm going to use in this bowl. And I just let it float for wood movement. That way everything stays together and it doesn't split and it doesn't crack. Look at this beautiful piece of rock maple. It's hard to believe this came on a pallet. I mean, I can see why furniture makers wouldn't want it, but for our purposes, it's going to be just fine. That's some pretty stuff. I really I would like to do a contrasting ring that spirals up, but I don't want these to be close. So I'm going to test what they're going to look like with finish on them using shellac to make sure that I get the contrast that I'm looking for. And then by the time, when I put an oil and wax finish on this, they will be different colors. So that told me what I need to know. Let's get to milling. Okay, I need 9 of each. Sorry, forgot to move you. This is just a little bit off, so I'm going to do it in halves. Takes a little bit longer, but I'd rather it be right. Now in an hour or so, I'll take that apart, take that over to my belt sander, sand it flat, and glue them together. Memory card got full and I'm not sure what you missed. I finished this ring. It's got veneer in the middle. And so I'm going, and I've run it through the sander on both sides so it's nice and flat. I'm going to put another layer of veneer on each side. I just don't know what color or what kind yet. So that's the feature ring almost done. I got the first 2 rings done and the false bottom cut. I'm going to have to mount these, cut this round, cut a groove, put it in there, and then I can glue these together and then start adding the rings. But before I start adding the other rings, I've got to get them built. So let's get to that. Okay, I've got this light colored veneer in the middle. What I'm going to do now is I've milled up some black walnut from an old table, and I'm going to cut this into segments. I'm going to make 18 segments, 1 ring. It'll be about yay thick. It's right at 1/4, I think. 3/8. I'm going to make 1 ring, glue it up, run it through the sander, then put it on the lathe, and I'm going to part it right in the middle. So I should end up with about 1/8 of an inch, 2 1/8 inch rings, and I'll put 1 on either side to contrast the rest of the vase and highlight this feature ring. I've already got my layout done. It's all good, no gaps, everything looks good. So let's glue it up. Well, run this through the sander tomorrow, put it on the lathe, cut it in half, and then I'll have 1 for each side of this. Okay, the way that I'm going to do this, I'm going to glue this ring to this, weight it down, let it sit overnight. Then I will hot glue this to my big faceplate, and then I'll part that off, take this off of the faceplate, and glue it on the other side. Billy, I notice when you do that, you don't rub that between your fingers. Why? I mean, you don't spread that glue with your fingers or something. Why? Because of the way I just did it? That's why. I get plenty of coverage. Now, line this up. So that it's all center. Okay, it shouldn't move anymore. Put my cawls on it. And after a few hours, that'll be good enough. Time to cut ring 3 while I'm waiting on glue to dry. Sorry, memory card got full and I didn't know it. So I had that glued on. I took this over, put it in the cold jaws, parted it off, sanded it smooth, ran it through my disc sander, got this nice and flat. So now I can glue it right here. And then I'll flatten it again. And again, spin it all the way around with pressure everywhere. Put my cawls and my clamps on it. This other ring is glued up. Tomorrow it'll be dry enough to run through the sander, dry thickness, and I'll start on rings 4, 5, 6, 7, etc. Okay, we got rings 1 through 3 made, plus 9, the feature ring. Now it's time to cut ring 4, 1.168, and it needs to be 1 inch thick. Had to do a little bit of surgery on my Craig miter gauge. I added these strips of sandpaper, 100 grit sandpaper. Just glued them on with double-sided tape. Now things aren't going to slip around like they have been. Nice and tight, looks good. Let's glue her up. Let this sit up for an hour or so and I'll run it through the sander. Slap the glue on her, get another one up. One of my viewers asked me why I've started wearing vinyl gloves. I should have been all along and just never remembered, but I've developed a skin condition on a couple of places in my hands and I'm trying to get them well. Got rings 1 through 5 made. Time for ring number 6. Ring number 6 is 1.411 and so is ring number 7 because they're kind of close. So I'll cut them both at the same time. Well, it's nice and tight. Let's glue it up. Alright, there's one. A few hours, I'll come back and run them both through the sander. Looks good. Ring 6 and 7 in the clamps. I'll come back in a few hours, run them through the sander, and then start on 8 and 9. Looks good, no gaps. That's it, 2 more rings in the clamps. I'll come back in the morning and run them through the sander. Time to cut this ring. Now, I'm not really going to have 13 rings. I'm only going to have 12. When I drew this up, I drew these to 1/2 inch. Some of them are 3/4, some of them are closer to 1/2. So it ended up being a little taller, but I still think it's going to be okay. Only one way to find out. Okay, you've seen me use wax paper to do these glue ups. Now I'm going to show you my favorite method. I know this is dead flat. Not only is it dead flat, the glue, you can see the yellow stains from it, but the glue, when you get glue on it, it just scrapes right off with a bench chisel. Looks good. Alright, we should be able to run this through the sander in ½ hour or so. Okay, I'm going to turn this first round so that it will fit on my chuck. Okay, this is now good and round. And now I need a 4-inch groove in here for the false bottom. Okay, so I'm at not quite 3.5. Looking at this ring and this diameter, that needs to be 4 inches. And I went a little over, but that's okay. This is my center piece. I need to cut it round to the same diameter as that I just cut, but I'm gonna run it through the sander real quick and smooth out the saw marks. Okay, I've got this piece mounted and marked. I'm gonna cut it most of the way through. I'll finish it off on the bandsaw. I don't need to finish it off on the bandsaw. I'll go sand these edges smooth. Okay, this fits in there nicely. Now I'll mount this ring and cut the same size slot and then glue these together. Okay, now I need to go just a little bit deeper. Alrighty, now you'll see one way that I use this. I'm only going to put glue on this outside edge because I don't want to glue that floating bottom in place. It won't move in between these two because of how tight I got them, but I don't want the squeeze out getting in there and gluing that. And I use the lathe as a clamp. That looks good. I'll let that set up for 10-11 minutes and then I'll put another ring on. Okay, got my homemade Lazy Susan here. I made this out of plywood with laminate on it. These came from my, these pieces came from the bathroom that I remodeled when I lived in Ohio. And I can't throw anything away. But hot glue doesn't stick to this, glue doesn't stick to it. So what I do is I cut rings on it, mounted it on a threaded block that screws over my live center. I've got this ring centered up. I'm going to tack it in place with hot glue just in 2 places. That's enough to hold it. And after that hot glue sets up a little bit, I'll carry it over to the lathe and we'll glue it to the first 2 rings. I put that on the wrong side. Should have been on the inside. Why did I do it that way? Because I'm stupid. Get these close. Run some glue around. Make sure it gets spread nice and all over the place. Line up my marks. Actually, I'm not lining up marks, I'm lining up this joint with the middle of that piece. I want to go all the way around and make sure the joints line up all the way around as best I can, and then crank it down. And I'll let this sit for 10 minutes, pop those two things of hot glue off, do the next one. Okay, pop the glue off. This has been long enough, it should be tacked up, at least tacked up enough to hold it. Center this one up. Good enough. Let that sit just a few minutes. You don't have to let it cure completely. As soon as it starts clouding up, it's good enough. And that's good. Got me a cameraman. My youngest son's over helping me make adjustments to my table saw, and he's moving my camera for me while I'm doing this. Good enough. Clamp it down. Wait another 10 minutes. Pop this off. Put another one on. And I'll come back when the first half is all glued together. But Billy, you're not flattening those off in between when you're gluing them up. That is correct. I'm not flattening them off because I have flattened both sides already on the drum sander. I know they're flat. Should be plenty flat for this. So I don't need to do that extra work because I did it already in prep. So I can just keep gluing these up, and it shouldn't be off more than, I'll be surprised if I'm off more than 1/16 of an inch as we go along. That would really surprise me. Okay, the bottom half is all glued up, so I'll let this sit up, clamped up overnight. Come back in the morning and clamp the bottom rings up. Okay, ready to start on the inside. Gotta love this Texas weather, 97 degrees one day, 57 the next. But it's a very comfortable 75 here in the shop. Almost 800 RPM. A little bit of a ridge right there. That's gonna be pretty. That is smooth as the proverbial baby's bottom. First two rings of the top are in the clamps. Let it sit in the clamps for 10 minutes and I'll put the next ring on. And I'll come back when I glue the last ring on, which is the feature ring. Okay, the top rings are glued up. I'll leave this in the clamps. And it's going to end up being over the weekend because we've got things going on, but I'll hollow it out first thing Monday. Got it turned around. Now I'll start finishing the inside. I'm not really going to hog this material out. I'm going to take relatively light cuts because of all the angular pieces in it. And I really don't want to catch to knock this thing off. So I'm going to try to be really, really careful. There. You know, that's plenty good for the inside. That is perfect finish for the inside. It's just fine. Gotta make sure that's nice and flat, clean, which it is. But Billy, you haven't turned the outside. Nope, I haven't. Not gonna turn the outside. Not yet. I'm gonna glue the halves together now. And yes, I made sure these two diameters are the same. Okay, that will do. I should have thought of this before I glued it. See, that pretty much guarantees alignment, because that screws onto there and it's centered. That screws onto here and it's centered. I know it's all center. Now I can crank it down and it's good. And the inside should line up perfectly. Should. Now when I turn this, I'm gonna keep it between centers to turn it. And the reason I'm going to keep it between centers is because if I try to hollow this, if I try to do the outside of this with this just hanging out here, I'm going to get too much flex and wobble for my liking. And another trick for when you're turning a hollow form is if you keep it this way between centers somehow, whether you're using a cone on the inside or whatever, which I may switch to in a minute. Whether you're using a cone on the inside or something to turn this between centers, this thing doesn't know it's hollow. It'll turn just like a solid piece. And when that's dry, I'll be back. Let's see if we can shape this. About 840. I've got some spots that are going to have to be filled with brown CA, but that's okay. So right now, I'm going to sand this. Let me get my RZ mat. Even though I've got the dust collector on, I really don't want this stuff in my lungs. I've got a fan blowing behind me. My dust collection is in front of me. The bulk of my sanding time is with the 80 or 100 grit, depending on the cut that I get. I had a tiny bit of tear out, so I started with 80. I've still got a little up in here, and I use that till I'm happy with the overall shape, and everything is nice and smooth, and then I move up in the grits, and it doesn't take me as long between those. So I've still got a little bit of work to do, and I'm constantly keeping the drill moving. I don't want any flat spots. Flat spots are the wood turner's enemy. It draws the eye to that spot. All right, I've got it the shape that I want. So I'll fill these little spots here and hit it with some activator and then sand them off. Okay, I've got the voids filled. I need to let this dry real good for a few hours. I'll sand all of this back off tomorrow morning. I got busy on something else. It dried, so I started sanding it off. I am really happy with this. One of the things I have not done is check the wall thickness throughout because, well, I got a chuck in this end, and I basically smoothed the inside the same way I smoothed the outside. I went down until everything matched. I went down until everything matched nicely. So, against my better judgment, let's see how we did. It's perfect. I mean, There is the slightest, the alignment is fantastic. There is the tiniest of blue seams where I put these two together right here. There's some squeeze out. I should be able to take care of that with a scraper and then refinish the inside. You ready for this? I am. The Sapele looks good. That maple looks good. Aside from just being hard maple, it's rock maple, but aside from it being hard maple, it's also ambrosia. That's what these stains are. That's from the ambrosia beetle. The beech, some of it is spalted. The cherry's pretty. It'll only get darker with age. You can feel this stuff cut, man. Let it set for a few minutes. Y'all watching? Y'all seeing that? Inside and outside all done. I've still got to do the bottom. But I'm going to let this friction polish harden up overnight and then turn it around and do the bottom in the morning. Okay, time to see what we can do with this bottom. About 620. You don't want to go very fast in the cold jaws. I've got my signature in it. Time to hit it with some good old axe. Let this sit here and harden up for a little bit, and then I'll take some stills. So here it is, all done. I like it. Got my signature and date in the bottom. The inside is finished nicely. It's not plasticky, shiny, smooth, just shiny enough. I really like it. And you'll be seeing more of this kind of stuff in the future, I promise. I love doing this stuff. It takes a while, but it's fun. So thanks for watching. I really appreciate it. You know what to do. Please like and subscribe if you're so inclined. Share this thing with your friends. Y'all come back. I forgot to mention that I won't have a project next week. We're going on a cruise and we'll be gone for a week. So I'll get back to it just as soon as we get back.